Hello, Gamboleros, and welcome to week 3 of Osiris League betting. We are fat and happy after a 6-1 record last week. We swept the board in Horus. We went 1-1 in Anubis, and also swept the board in the realm of Bastet. Let's get right into it with our bets this week. We are going to start off in the realm of Horus, and our first bet is going to be an upset possibility here. We are going to bet 5% on IF28. I am in KVK with 33.79 right now. They have been fighting all weekend, and they are losing their zone. So it is certainly possible that they will be a bit demoralized or low on energy and maybe a little bit low on troops for this match against IF28. I think this is a good spot to put a little bit of Aurics down on a huge underdog just in case we can get a nice little upset special here. So we're going to bet 5% on IF28, and then we will get to our next bet in the realm of Horus. This is another underdog, a much slighter underdog. We're going to be betting 10% of our bankroll on W719 against Mimi. We have faded Mimi in the past. We will try to do it again here. Basically, what we are looking at is that these two teams had very similar point differentials against their two common opponents. In actuality, W719 has had a slightly better point differential against both of their opponents than Mimi did, and so getting W79 as an underdog here is a really good value bet, and so we are going to bet 10% of our bankroll on W719. Let me go over and quickly grab the rest of our bankroll from the quest there. And this is kind of the template for this week. We just looked at the results of the past 2 weeks. All these teams have common opponents, and we're just very rationally and logically betting on some teams where it makes sense based on their other matches. That brings us to another bet here. We're going to bet on VV to beat 1818. Now, both of these teams are 0-2 in their bracket. But last week, 1818 lost by 40,000 points to 1486. They did not have a full roster for that match, and it just looked like just an uninspired effort by 1818. VV has lost 2 very close matches. VV is also about to go into a KVK, so I think they have some good reasons to be trying to play their best in this match. Whereas 1818, I don't really know what's going on there, but their effort last week was just very, very poor. So we are going to go ahead and bet 10% here on VV to beat the Vietnamese juggernaut from 1818. Now, the final bet we're going to make in Horus is we are going to bet on 3174 to beat the House of Lannister. This is only going to be a 5% bet because they're the favorites and it's not like amazing value. But basically, 3174 beat TS24, whereas House of Lannister lost to TS24. And so that just says to me that 3174 is clearly a better team. And they are a favorite here, but they're not like a huge favorite. They're just a minor favorite. So I don't think too many people are factoring in the common opponents that these two teams have. So this is just a solid bet. And we're going to bet 5% of our bankroll on 3174. If you don't like this bet, if you would rather bet something else, I will have a 5% recommended bet on the match that I'm casting here in a moment. So if you just want to skip 3174 and bet on the live streamed match tomorrow instead, you can go ahead and do that. That'll be coming up here in just 1 second. Now, in the realm of Anubis, we have our 2 biggest bets of the week, and they're both going to be on YouTuber Kingdoms. The first bet here is going to be on PK 1029. This is Lambo's kingdom and Oppo's new kingdom. PK, they lost a close match to 63DS. Fate Nation was beaten very handily by 63DS. So based on that common opponent and those outcomes, you would think that PK is the favorite in this match. That's not the case. PK is actually a pretty substantial underdog here. FN getting some of that, name recognition value here. FN's been around for a long time. They've done well in Osiris League in the past. PK is playing in the Osiris League for the first time. So I think people are just going by the names here. But we are going to take advantage of that, and we are going to bet just under 1,200 here on PK for the upset. Hopefully they come through, because that'll be a juicy, juicy bounty. The next bet of the week is going to be our best bet of the week. This is another YouTuber Kingdom, SV92. This is Bus Drivers Kingdom. And I'm going to tell you right now, the odds of this match, they simply don't make sense. SV92, they beat PBO3 in week 1. LN93 lost to PBO3 in week 2. And yet these two teams are basically a 50-50 bet here. It looks to me, based on that common opponent and those common outcomes, that SV92... And by the way, SV92 also beat INM, and LN93 lost INM. SV92 is 2-0 in the group. LN93 is 0-2 in the group. It doesn't make sense for these to be 50-50 betting partners here. So we're going to go ahead and bet 25% of our bankroll on SV92. Let me quickly do that math. I think that's going to be about 2,000 Aurics right there. We'll go a little bit lower just so the math works out in the end. But that's going to be our best bet of the week. SV92 over LN93. Get in on that one. Now, the next match that I want to just mention here briefly is the match that I'm going to be casting with Plato on the official Rise of Kingdoms channel at 15 UTC tomorrow. That is going to be 18-18 against 33-10. 18-18, a very, very accomplished Auric of Osiris League team. 33-10, just entering Season of Conquest pretty recently, but they are 2-0 in the group. They have a pretty similar outcome against teams like 1473 in the past. Actually, both of their matches have very similar point differentials here. So if you do want to watch this match and have a little bit of action on it, I would recommend an underdog bet on 33-10 here. You could just bet like 5% or 10% of your bankroll on 33-10, and I think you would be getting pretty good value for those Aurics, and you'll get a sweat for the match that I'm casting tomorrow. I'm not going to bet on that one, though, because I don't want to be biased in any way in my coverage. And that brings us to our final bet in the realm of Anubis. We are going to go with ATW over 62YS. I think this is another one of those common opponent type situations. Yeah, ATW beat P74, whereas 62YS lost to P74. ATW also played a slightly closer match against LX17. Not a sure thing here, but as just a tiny, tiny favorite here, I do think ATW makes logical sense and represents good value. We're just looking for good value this week. So we are going to bet another 10% of our bankroll on ATW to beat 62YS. And then we've got two final bets in the realm of Bastet. And let's see, this is going to be the first one. This one, I kind of think maybe betting more on this game makes sense because, listen, we had a no-show last week from 42V. They did not show for this match. I did not look so closely to see if they had some sort of KVK thing going on, but I don't think they did. I could be wrong. But 14VA, they're 0-2, but they have shown up for both of their matches. If we had with a no-show situation last week, there's always the possibility that this is like free money that is on the table here, where a team might no-show again. So we are going to bet 10% on 14VA to fight against last week's no-show opponent and hopefully pick up that free money for us. This last bet is going to be something similar, some very similar logic in this next one. 885N only scored 1,200 points last week. I quickly checked the match and they had like 6 people in on their team like halfway through the match. Maybe they had a few more people than that show up early and the other people left, but this was pretty close to a no-show last week by 1885. They have only scored 2,000 points in their 2 Osiris League matches so far. So once again, if there's free money out on the table, even if it's potential free money, we're just going to grab it with our Aurics. Like, it's not the most exciting bet in the world, but we're just going to bet on 3086 here. They have shown up for their matches so far. They scored 21,000 more points against MCM, and they're just a tiny little favorite here. So let's go ahead and bet our remaining bankroll on 3806. A couple of no-show specials here in the realm of best bet. That's going to be all the bets for this week. I do wish you the best of luck in all your actions, and let's go to the betting summary. Wrapping things up this week, we are going to bet 5% of our bankroll on IF28 over 33.79. We're betting W719 over Mimi for 10% of our bankroll. 3174 over H51L for 5% of our bankroll, and VV over A818 for 10% of our bankroll. Those are the 4 bets in the realm of Bastet in the realm of Horus this week. In the realm of Anubis, we are betting on PK over FN for 15% of our roll. Our best bet of the week is SV92 over LN93 for 25% of our bankroll. We are betting on ATW over 62YS for 10% of our roll. And then in the realm of Bastet, we are betting on 14VA over 42V for 10% of our bankroll, and 3086 over 885N for 10% of our bankroll. Best of luck in all your action, and be sure to tune in to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel on Sunday at 13 and 15 UTC. We will be casting 2 matches live on that channel.